Hey everybody, this is Jim. I want to spend the next few minutes sharing with you some tips to make your online discussions more effective. When it comes to online discussions, how you communicate your thoughts and ideas will make a difference in how your classmates and your instructor understand what it is you're trying to get across. So with that, here's some things to consider. First of all, think of your discussion post as a mini essay. There needs to be a good introduction, followed by the main supporting point, and then perhaps an application piece. So the first thing you want to do is to write a decent introduction. It could be just a couple, 2 or 3 sentences, but it needs to set the context for the point of your discussion. Now, don't repeat the questions in your introduction, but restate them in an opening statement and then make a thesis statement or a mission statement as to what the main point is that you're trying to make in your discussion. The second paragraph needs to be your response to the discussion. And in your response, you need to incorporate good supporting evidence. I suggest the best way you do this is by using your textbook as supporting evidence. This not only helps to keep your discussion in the context of the assignments each week, but it also shows your instructor that you've read, understand, and can apply what you've read in your reading assignments. The third paragraph needs to be a follow-up to your explanation as an application. How can you apply this in the context of the class or in the context of your work or something like that? Provide an example of what this looks like in a real scenario. A couple other things to consider is spelling counts. What I suggest to all of my students is that they write out their responses in Microsoft Word where they can do a good proofread and check their grammar and spelling. And by the way, if you need a good tool for that, above and beyond what Microsoft Word does, look at Grammarly.com. Now, in order to do all of this, obviously it's going to take more than just a short response of 50 words or more. As I said, you need to look at this as a mini essay. So it's probably going to be in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 words. And that's not very much. In fact, it may take some of you a little bit of work to keep it that concise, to have a good introduction, supporting paragraph, and then an application piece. Another thing I suggest to my students is that they format their citations and references in the writing style that's used at the school, whether it be APA style or MLA style. And I'm not saying double space your papers and all that stuff. What I'm referring to is how you format your citations and your references. In fact, I suggest to my students that they list the references they cite in their discussion post at the end of their discussion. So the next thing we need to consider is participation. When it comes to responding to your classmates, it needs to be more than just a good post or great job, something like that. Not that that's a bad thing, but your responses need to have substance to them. One way I like to do this is to quote something back to them and then explain why I agree with them or disagree with them. And if I disagree, I need to make sure and provide some evidence to back up the reason I disagree with them. Probably, perhaps another quote from the textbook or something like that. But that's a good way to respond to your classmates and to encourage follow-up, because they may respond back to you and take the discussion on to the next level. Now, when it comes to participation, most of the schools are going to require a minimum of 2 days of participation. Your initial response and then responding to your classmates. I suggest to maximize the points that you respond on 3 different days. And it's very simple to do. The first response or the first day is when you post your initial response to the discussion. So if it's due by Wednesday, you get that done by Wednesday. And then on Thursday or Friday, when most of your classmates have posted their responses as well, now you have the opportunity to read through those and post a couple of good responses to their initial response. And then on a third day, whether it be Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, or whatever the week, how it's structured, that's a good time to read through any responses made to your initial post and to reply back to your classmates with addressing any concerns they had or offering more clarification if they asked for it. And don't forget to respond to your instructor. If your instructor posts a response to your initial post, you need to reply back to them. As an instructor, I will often post a question in response to one of my students' posts as a way of helping to encourage them to fulfill the requirements of the discussion. Perhaps I need a little clarification, perhaps I need some support, or something like that. So don't ignore your instructors. They may be actually trying to help you by asking you questions to which your answers will fulfill the requirements for the assignment. The last point is to not wait until the last minute to post your responses to your classmates. If your assignment is due by Sunday, you don't want to wait till 10 o'clock Sunday night to post responses to your classmates, because chances are they're not going to be read. And then you're just checking off the box. And I get it, sometimes that's all the time we have to do. But if you really want to encourage dialogue with your classmates, you need to respond to them sooner in the week, sooner than the last day of the week. But if it has to be on Sunday, that's okay. But try to make it early enough in the day so that your classmates, the bulk of them, will be in the discussion later on in the day and read your response. If you wait until the last minute, such as 10 or 11 o'clock at night, yes, you're meeting the due date, but it's like giving your response to an empty classroom. Everybody's already gone home for the day, so your response may not be read. The bottom line is, if you follow these suggestions, that will help you to make your discussions more effective and to ensure that you're communicating your intentions and your thoughts for the assignment, which should result in better grades. I hope you found this helpful. I'll look for you in the next video.